What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the third and final edition of Paul Talks Patriots Draft Prospects. We got a lot of important players to talk about today, and a really important position, maybe the most important position that the Patriots need to attack in the draft, and that is wide receiver. I have 5 prospects today that I will be talking about, the most out of any position group I've talked about so far. But obviously, the Patriots tried to vamp up their wide receiver room. First, getting Mac Hollins in there, an ex-receiver, gritty player. Not going to be the number one receiver, but then they turned heads with the signing of Stefon Diggs. Diggs is surprising a lot of people in his recovery from his ACL tear a year ago, and may be ready for week 1. The depth is there, and it's clear the Patriots still need top-end talent because who knows how long Diggs will be here. He signed a 3-year deal, but it's more of a year-to-year base type of deal. The Patriots can cut him loose when they want to, or maybe when Stefon Diggs believes he can cash in for more money. Regardless, Drake May needs more weapons, and this is a very interesting class for prospects. Unfortunately, the history of drafting for new front office exec, Ryan Cowden, who is kind of second fiddle to Elliott Wolf now. His history, along with Wolf's and Matt Groh's history of drafting wide receivers, is pretty poor, to say. I hate to do this to you, but I got to go over the history of our draft picks there. Last year, of course, we had Jaylin and Javon Baker, who, I'm sorry, regardless of what you think they might be, based off of last year, they're both busts right now. The year before that, we picked Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas. Obviously, 2 guys that have grown into their own and have a nice role for us now. I will say Kayshon Boutte, you can call him a hit, but I will too, because he's been good for us. But I got to put an asterisk there because he fell to us. It was a gimme pick, guy that had off-the-field problems. The talent was always there. That's why he fell to us, and that's why we were able to get him. So whether you want to say he's a hit or not, I think he's a hit, but that was an easy pick for our front office to make. Pop, got to give credit where credit is due. Really good find in the 6th round out of Liberty. The year before that, Tyquan Thornton, obvious miss. And then lastly, you look at Trey Nixon, who we drafted in the 7th round. Didn't work out. 7th round pick. It is what it is. Then you go and you look at Ryan Cowden's history with the Titans. He drafted Treylon Burks, who was an utterly bad pick in the 1st round. Really just didn't pan out. And then also more late round picks that didn't pan out. So you can't really blame them too much. They tried, it didn't work out. But worth noting, Kyle Phillips, Des Fitzpatrick, Racey McMath, who I want to say they just picked because his first name is Racy and they thought he was fast. I don't know, but that didn't work out. Then, obviously, with the Titans, the wide receiver that comes to mind, A.J. Brown, obvious hit, potential future Hall of Famer. So I'm not going to say sit here and make it sound like that was a bad draft pick. Everyone knows it wasn't. Obviously, he got traded, and the Titans tried to replace him with Treylon Burks. So, terrible mistake there from the front office in Tennessee at that point. And then before that, during Cowden's first year having a say in the Titans draft process, they drafted Corey Davis. So, I'm sorry, Corey Davis had a decent career, but he was drafted 5th overall. So, that's not even close to what you want out of a 5th overall pick. But you got to give credit where credit is due. They got A.J. Brown. They have a history of drafting Pop Douglas. And then after that, it's really spotty. And that's being optimistic. So, with that being said, there's so many good prospects this year that it's going to be tough for them to miss. And I will start off with who many people think is the best player in this draft, and that is Travis Hunter. Hunter, in my opinion, was going to be a cornerback 100% going into his senior year. And then I watched him play. I scouted him. I watched his tape. And this guy, his improvement from 2 years ago to last year is crazy at the wide receiver position. And he's just super athletic. That's how he finds success, is using his athleticism. But he still has a lot to learn about the position. I call him a raw prospect at wide receiver. I got some hate on Twitter because of it, I'm not going to lie. And it makes sense to me to call him a raw prospect. I don't know what other people consider raw. It's not a bad thing. It just means that he has a lot to learn, and he has a lot of room for improvement. So, to me, he is raw. Where he did show improvement, though, last year was his understanding to find open space, whether it's against zone or man. He knows how to maneuver around a defense. He also knows how to navigate his routes to find the optimal catch point, which was evident on his deep balls. Shedeur Sanders, whatever you want to think of him, has a strong arm, but didn't have the most accurate passes downfield. But it may have looked like that because Travis Hunter was able to track down his passes regardless of where Shedeur put them. On top of that, he displays outside boundary receiver skills with his high-pointing abilities on catches. He understands how to time up a catch and when to jump, how to get over a defender trying to make a play on the ball as well, and high point that ball and come down with a grab. Now, where he lacks a little bit is his technique, of course. That's where he can learn more. His route running, to me, seems like it's more reliant on his athleticism instead of being sharp and mechanical, which, isn't a terrible thing. Whatever works, which is why he can come in and play right away and be effective. But he has some pretty decent room to grow as a route runner, in my opinion. And similarly, his footwork needs some improvement on his release. And that could just go such a long way in making him one of the best receivers in the NFL. Besides that, I think he needs to just put on some pounds. The guy's a twig, and it's scary. And now Devonta Smith proved that you don't need to be the most built receiver to find success in the NFL. But, it is sketchy when you're dealing with grown men on the other side of the field. I think there's a chance he also gets pressed at the line of scrimmage in man coverage, and it could throw him off his route, it could throw off the timing, so that kind of scares me. But all in all, he's similar to Abdul Carter in the fact that you kind of have to nitpick to find these negatives to talk about. He's going to be a player, he's going to be a star in the NFL, in my opinion, and he's a very polarizing prospect to talk about. But if he somehow falls to the Patriots at 4, that's an easy pick for me to make. Next, another guy that really got his name involved in round 1 talks towards the end of the year, and very impressive film, it's Matthew Golden out of Texas. Now, Golden plays boundary, but he's not your optimal, prototypical boundary receiver. He stands at 5'11", and he's 190 pounds. But with this being said, he has some really good skills that correlate to success on the boundaries at the next level. His route running, I'll start with his route tree. He runs a pretty decent route tree, not too basic, and that plays a long way in the NFL, knowing that a receiver can do a lot of different things on the field: short, middle, intermediate, and then deep. When you can find success at all 3 levels, it goes a long way. On top of that, I also think he has an ability to find open space and create separation from his defender. I think he also does a really good job of changing his pace within his route running, which can throw off defenders, and that's something that it takes a lot of talent and time to develop, and the fact that he's doing it pretty well and noticeably at college is very impressive. With that being said, I think there still is room for improvement in his route running, and he can grow as a route runner, but he can come in and be a successful route runner right away. His speed also, huge plus in his game. I thought he was fast. I did not think he was 4.29 40 time fast. That's what he ran at the combine. And he also has quick acceleration. Like his first 2 steps, he's gone. So it's very impressive that he has that quick burst, but also that long stride speed down the field. He'll blow by your defenders in the backfield or playing back, and just super impressive natural athlete. However, his catching could use some improvement. I think it's not elite, but to say it's reliable is an understatement. It's there. Sometimes he makes those the focus drops, like when you're trying too hard to catch the ball and you just focus too much. It's not natural. And then as far as contested catches, like he'll jump up and make catches. He's good at that, but sometimes when the defender is right in his grill, he doesn't come down with the ball. So just inconsistent there. The 50-50 balls, you don't love the advantage you have with Golden at receiver, in my opinion. Outside of that, to go back to the positives, his yards after catch, he's not the shiftiest, but he knows how to make people miss through a combo of his acceleration and just awareness of the field, and he just finds green. To put it simply, he finds green. So I think he can find success after the catch as well with that. I don't know how he will be as an X, but he has the ability to play Z, in my opinion, as well off the ball, and just use his quickness and speed to his advantage there on the outside. I think he will be a really good X, but I think he finds more success at the Z. That's not to say he can't be a number 1 wide receiver, just a little different than your stereotypical outside receiver, big jump ball guy type of person. I do think he is worthy of a first round pick, so it's been a common theme to see the Patriots trading up to draft him. I would not be opposed to that. I just don't see why we would trade up to draft him, because there are receivers available in the second round and plenty of other prospects in the draft in general available in the second and third rounds that we should just keep our picks, in my opinion, instead of trading up. However, I would not be upset if we made a move to trade up into the back end of the first round to pick Golden. But a guy I believe we can pick at 38 overall and still find success with him would be Iowa State receiver Jayden Higgins. Higgins was super impressive at the Senior Bowl, one of my favorite prospects there, maybe my favorite, and I honestly did not really know much about him playing at Iowa State, but he is very good, very versatile, and he is going to carve out a nice, long, successful career in the NFL. Higgins played the majority of his snaps on the outside, but did get a lot of reps at slot. So the versatility comes into play, and he can do the same in the NFL and find success on the outside and the inside because his footwork is insane. It's like water. It just flows. And he's so shifty with it too, and then he's just off. And it works when his release. So if you look at his stats, they're pretty impressive, but they could have been even more. That's how talented he is. But a lot of his plays got called back because of penalties. It's frustrating. He probably should have had 3 or 4 more touchdowns and whatever, maybe 100 more yards, maybe 200. But they all got called back because of penalties. So if you just look strictly at the stats, they're not even going to tell the whole story of how productive this guy was for Iowa State. He is your prototypical size for an X receiver. He's 6'4". He's not slim. He's pretty built. and he's physical. It's I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but he's more finesse towards the line of scrimmage with his footwork. And then once he gets downfield, he's physical. He will fight for positioning, and he will be aggressive at the catch point. It's very impressive, honestly. And he has a good catch radius. So when he's going up for those jump balls, or if your quarterback needs to place it away from a defender or isn't the most accurate and does it accidentally, he can adjust and make those catches, I believe. It's just after the catch, he didn't display a lot to me last year, at least from what I saw. Like I said, he is a little shifty. His footwork is there. So he could make people miss with that, but he just doesn't have that blazing speed to break away. He can't kick it into second gear, as a lot of people say. So that's where he lacks in his game. So he's a nice deep threat. He's just probably never going to make those consistent 60-yard touchdown plays, But super impressive. And like I said, he has that combination of physicality and finesse that will go a long way for him in the NFL. One common thing that people have said and that I've seen in the film also is, like I said, he uses finesse at the line of scrimmage. Physicality there, I don't think will be a problem, but people have pointed that as a problem. But this guy was projected to go late third round, maybe fourth round, and after the Senior Bowl, he caught a lot of people's attention, and then you saw his draft stock go way up and skyrocket. And now I don't think picking him at 38 would be a reach. And I've said that since I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and a lot more people are starting to come on with that opinion now.
So to start off, you have versatility lining up in the slot and out wide. Which one do you believe you're more comfortable at, and do you believe that can carry over to the next level?
I would say I'm comfortable at both. I played a lot at Iowa State. Whatever the team needs to go out there and make plays and move the chains, that's what I'll be willing to do.
All right. And obviously you're here with your teammate, Jaylin. What's your relationship with him? How's it been going through this process together?
Yeah, we got a good group of Iowa State guys here. Jaylin, the other Jaylin, and then Darian Porter. But yeah, Jaylin, that's my guy. I love that guy, man, one of my best friends. It's been awesome, seeing him go out here and dominate as well. But yeah, the process has been really good with him.
You said he's been dominating. You've put on a good performance. How do you believe you've been doing this week? What's working well for you?
Yeah, just competing. Just competing every day, no matter what. Whoever lines in front of me, just going out there trying to kill him.
Besides your athletic ability, when the team drafts you, what kind of player are they going to get?
Consistent player, someone that's gonna, do the little things every single day, and just come to work.
You have a background in basketball. How do you factor that into your ability to play wide receiver?
Yeah, I think playing wide receiver is very similar to basketball, just as far as the movements and releases and things like that. But yeah, you just add it in, and that's why I'm a fluid mover, I believe.
There's several famous wide receivers in the NFL with basketball backgrounds. Do you model your game after any of them, or if not, who do you model your game after?
As far as releases, I like Keenan Allen a lot. I watch a lot of Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams. But yeah, you watch a whole bunch of guys and try to take little things from everyone.
And another guy who was super impressive was his teammate at Iowa State, Jaylen Noel. Noel went on a 30 visit with the Patriots, which I was a little surprised about. But then I realized, just because we have Pop, Noel plays slot receiver. That's why I was surprised. I should preface with that. But I remember when we had Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola and we won Super Bowls with them? Why not repeat it in McDaniel's offense with Pop and Jaylen Noel? Noel is a slot receiver, as I said, but he is a deep threat as well. It's pretty impressive. He's a crisp route runner and is pretty shifty too. But really, what helps him as a deep threat is his route running. He gets open fairly easily, and he just knows with his short arms, which is a little concerning, it lowers his catch radius, but with his short arms, he still knows how to high point the ball. So if he's got a big safety on him, he's screwed. But like if it's man to man and he's running 1-on-1 against a slot corner, I like those odds 9 times out of 10. So he's that type of player. On top of that, he offers value as a punt returner. He found success there last season. And he's also a 2-time team captain. So if you're talking about a guy that's going to come in and help with the culture of a team, this is another guy that could do that. And I think the Patriots are taking that into account a lot more than maybe other teams would. So very intriguing prospect. His biggest flaw is his catching, in my opinion. It's just inconsistent. He drops some easy passes sometimes. So I don't know how you work on that. Maybe it's just he's focusing too much. As I said earlier, that's a problem sometimes with receivers. But really impressive prospect. I would love for everyone to go watch his film. It is impressive. And he reminds me of a Danny Amendola type of player.
In college, what did that mean to you, and how do you feel about that?
It meant the world to me. Obviously, my teammates voted on that. It really tells you that they believe in me and trust my leadership style. So being able to accomplish something like that in college is something I'll never forget.
What are you trying to get out of this group? What means the most to you?
Really just showing the scouts my competitive edge. Being able to come in here and compete against some of the top guys in the country that they might have not seen on film from this past year means the world to me.
Some people have you projected as a mid-round pick. Does that give you a little bit of a chip on your shoulder?
Oh yeah, I'm always have a small chip on my shoulder. I know I'm a guy that's probably been overlooked because I went to Iowa State, but as you can see, I'm coming out here and being able to do good against these elite corners all around the country. So.
As a rookie, how are you going to bring your traits as a 2-year captain into a locker room your first year?
Yeah, obviously your first year, you can't go in and be too assertive because you got to learn from the vets in the league. But just being consistent every day, going in and being myself, bringing a positive energy to the locker room and always competing. If you compete, it's a way to earn respect within a locker room.
Have you met with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yet?
Yes, I have.
Was that like a quick informal meeting, or is it more in depth?
It was quick and informal.
Appreciate it.
You met with the Texans while you're here?
I have not.
Who do you model your game after? Anyone in particular, or is there multiple guys?
Yeah, there's some multiple guys that I kind of pick from and try to implement in my game. A few of those guys being Jaylen Waddle. Feel like he's very athletic, can jump and go get the ball wherever it's at. Quick man beater at the line of scrimmage. Jordan Addison, very fluid in his route running, clean at the top of his routes, great hands. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a compact receiver that can win easily in the slot. If he has to, he can go outside and win as well. And he's his IQ of the game is very high.
Besides your athletic ability, what type of person will the team that drafts you get?
Just a high character person. I'm a guy that's, I feel like I'm a connector. I connect with guys, get to know guys in a positive aspect. And then I'm a consistent person. I'm going to come in with a positive attitude each day and allow guys to feed off my positive energy.
Where do you feel most comfortable, in the slot or out wide?
I feel like I'm a versatile player, so anywhere a team needs me, that's where I'll be.
Have you met with the Pats yet?
The Patriots? Yes,
sir.
I have.
How did that go?
It went great.
Doing great? Sweet. What did they ask you?
Just some background information, a little bit of knowledge, knowledge in the aspect of the game.
As far as a rebuilding team goes, if you walked in, they're not winning immediately. How would you handle that diversity, and how can you be a good teammate and build towards a winning culture?
Yeah, like I said, just bringing in a positive attitude. Obviously, when a team's rebuilding, there's steps you have to take, and you have to be patient. And so I would have to understand that going into a team like that, and just being myself, being consistent each day, being a competitor, and just pushing guys with my actions.
Awesome. Thank you.
And this is a guy that we could probably snag in the third round. He's, again, going right in that early stage of third round in mocks, so maybe he's available at 77. If you love this guy so much, you pick him at 69. He's that type of player. Lastly, for wide receivers, I have Kyle Williams out of Washington State, a.k.a. Wazoo. Another guy that just went on a 30 visit with the Patriots, and I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I wasn't really paying attention to him, honestly. He kind of flew under the radar because of guys like I just talked about from Iowa State, Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel. There was other guys there like Tez Johnson that were really impressive. So Kyle Williams, while he had a good week, just wasn't talked about a lot. But I watched his film to dive more into the player he was, and super impressive. He's projected to go in the 4th round, but I think he's going to go higher than that. And that's mainly because he's got a very well-rounded game as a receiver, but his quarterback play was pretty bad. I just not a fan of Mateer at Wazoo. Kind of held him back, I feel like. Plays where Williams was open and he just wouldn't target him, or would target him and it would be like just an inaccurate throw. So Williams is very good at his job. He also took a lot of snaps at slot as well as being an ex-receiver. I don't know if he'd have success in the NFL as a slot receiver. I think he fits more of the field stretcher type on the boundary. But again, similarly to Golden, he's not that ideal size you want in a boundary receiver. He stands at 5'11", 190 pounds, just the same as Matthew Golden. But he is a little slower. He runs a 4.40, but he maximizes that speed. I don't see that being a problem in the NFL. I think he could break away downfield with the ball in his hand. Also, guy is just a dog, in my opinion. He's not easy to tackle. He'll fight for the extra yards, and he likes to block, which I've said it with the tight ends, and I'll say it again with the wide receivers. If you like to block as a receiver, then you are automatically on my like list. I don't care about the other stuff. I respect you and I like you as a player. So he showed flashes of that, at least, and I was impressed. He also seems like he's got a good IQ for the game. I liked his spacing and his route running. Again, not playing with the best offense, not the best quarterback. He knew how to get open, and he was able to find space against the zone as well. So he just understands the game of football, and again, a guy I think can come in here and contribute pretty quickly. As far as catching goes, he's got strong hands, so once he catches it, you're not knocking the ball out of his hand, but contested catches were pretty inconsistent from what I saw. Outside of that, he's got a shifty release. Not terrific footwork, but it works. I think top NFL defensive backs are going to be able to read his hips, but it could work. I mean, there's receivers that get by with not the best release, but it works. I do like his route tree. I think he's got some versatility there in what he's able to do. Again, he played slot, so he definitely has experience in the short game. And then on the outside, he ran a decent amount of different intermediate and long routes. So there's stuff to work with there. I think he's super similar to Matthew Golden. In the fact that they're the same build. They're both super athletic in their play style, but obviously Golden's a little faster and played in a better offense, and I think that's the reason why Golden is projected to go in the 1st round and Williams is probably going in the 3rd to 4th round. I could be completely content with taking Williams in the 3rd round, but if he somehow managed to fall to pick 104 to us in the 4th round, that's a steal in my opinion. So this is a guy that's going to carve out a long career. He has that ceiling as a really damn good wide receiver 2 and a floor of being a solid wide receiver 3. He's going to have a nice career. Very impressive. with that being said, that's all the receivers I have for you guys, but more skill positions here with running backs. The first guy I would like to talk about, actually, well, let me say this first. I did not think we were drafting a running back. At all. I was like, maybe we take a flyer on someone late. And then Mike Vrabel came out and started talking about how we were gonna draft a running back. He basically said it straight up. So that was a surprise to me. But there are a lot of impressive running backs in this class. So it's weird because we're tied up to Ramondre Stevenson for, the next 3 or 4 years with his contract extension. And there's a lot of dead money there, obviously. So cutting him doesn't make sense. He'll be here. And then we have Antonio Gibson under contract for the next 2 years as well. But that's a contract you can eat if you want to get rid of him. And another thing that was weird to me was I really like Terrell Jennings. If you guys watched a year ago and remember me talking about him, I thought he showed a lot of promise in that Ramondre role. But at the end of the day, he's an undrafted free agent, so cutting ties with him isn't going to be the worst thing in the world. And I also just would say this is probably far from one of the biggest needs on our team. Obviously, after free agency, we have position groups that are better off than running back, but running back isn't really a problem to me. I still believe in Ramondre, even after his less than ideal performance last year behind the worst offensive line in the NFL. And I like Gibson too. But we're going to be drafting a running back, it sounds like. So let's dive in first with Tennessee's starting running back and SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Dylan Sampson. Sampson was on a 30 visit with the Patriots just a week or two ago, which honestly I didn't know too much about Sampson. I've seen Tennessee play. Tennessee's in the headlines recently for other news with Nico, but Sampson was a solid player for them. First year as their full-time workhorse, but had been getting reps in the backfield for several seasons now. He's 5'8", 200, so not ideal size for a power back, but he's built like a tank even at his 5'8" frame. And on top of that, because of it, he's tough to tackle. So really impressive stuff. And another thing that is super important to me with running backs is his age. He's just going to be turning 21 at the beginning of the regular season this year. And like I said, he only has 1 year as a lead back, so there's not a lot of wear on the tires there. And he's pretty polished for his age. He was 13 AP All-American because of his play, so super impressive. I think he's going to be going in the early third round, so this is a guy that would probably need a pick at 69. But diving into his game, he reads blocks very well in the backfield, and he's patient. He waits for his opening and then takes it, and he knows just when to hit a hole. You know, he's not waiting back there forever, but he is patient and reads well. So he fits the zone scheme that I think we're going to be implementing with McDaniels. On top of that, he has good, not great athleticism, but he has the ability to make people miss downfield. So he might not, take a house call too often, but he will be able to fight for extra yards because, as I said, he's tough to tackle and he's a little shifty where he can make people miss and shed blocks. He did run a 4.42 40 at his pro day, so there is proof of breakaway speed, but I just don't think it's going to happen too often when you talk about that home run hitting ability. But a guy that's going to fit into our offense well if he ends up here. So, very intriguing. I really liked his tape. And a good prospect. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes end of second round, but if he gets to us at 69, I would love to take him. I don't think it's a big need, but if we do, I wouldn't be upset with drafting Sampson. Next, another guy that was on a 30 visit at Gillette Stadium was Georgia running back Trevor Etienne. Now, whether you know the last name because of Trevor, who was at Florida being a stud for 2 years prior to transferring to Georgia, or for his older brother Travis Etienne, who plays for the Jaguars, this guy is a baller. He's been, like I said, one of the best running backs in college for 3 seasons now. And again, a guy that fits more of a zone scheme, but different than Sampson, has less versatility in a gap scheme. I think Etienne's bread and butter is the zone scheme. So that's why he's projected to go in the 4th round. This is going to be a target we can get at pick 104. But he's really good at improvising in the backfield when the first read isn't there. He can cut back and find a different opening and still get positive yardage. He's got the proven ability to cut back to find those holes and then make some nice moves downfield once he gets past that first level. Where he lacks, though, where the reason he's falling is he's not a good run blocker at all, very undesiring, and his receiving ability is a huge question mark. Georgia's offense didn't consist of Etienne being used as a really good route running receiving back. So he would catch screens, he would go on flat routes, but he wasn't running an intricate route tree, and where that plays such a big role in today's NFL, it's unsure how he will adapt to that. But at the Senior Bowl, he definitely showed flashes of that. So, intriguing prospect, and another guy that I could see mixing in reps with our current backfield of Stevenson and Gibson. And then lastly, we have R.J. Harvey out of UCF. Harvey, another guy that was down at the Senior Bowl and did pretty well for himself down there. He stands at 5'8", 205, so similar build to Sampson. The only thing is he's already 24 years old, so very undesirable age there for running back. But when you look at the tape, it's very impressive. He's got a quick acceleration, and when UCF was creating holes for him to hit, he's gone. Like it was really impressive. Right as soon as he breaks through that line of scrimmage, he's already full speed, chugging ahead. But to combat that, he's very patient in the backfield before he takes off running. He's, again, suits a zone scheme, and he just waits for his opening before taking off. The thing is with him that's different than Sampson is sometimes he waits a little too long, and then he ends up getting tackled in the backfield. So that's something that he needs to work on. It's just, I think he understands the concepts. His IQ is there, but he's just a little too hesitant and doesn't commit really to hitting a hole sometimes. On top of that, he does have a brute run style which is different than Etienne. He will run through you if he needs to, so he can find success in a gap scheme. But again, more of a zone scheme type of guy. His contact balance is terrific because of his build. But he doesn't seem like he has the ability to make people miss, really. So, what's the give and take there? On top of that, again, similarly to Etienne, his pass blocking is horrendous. So, not a guy that you want in the backfield when teams are going to be blitzing. So, regardless of what his abilities to do as a pass catcher are, it's always sketchy to have him in the backfield on 3rd down because if he needs to block, he can't. So that limits his ceiling to me. Either way, as nitpicky as I just was on him, I think he's maybe a borderline second-round pick, third-round pick, if he was 2 years younger. Unfortunately, age is not on his side when it comes to playing in the NFL, so that's why he's going to be more of a third to fourth round draft prospect. But nonetheless, an interesting player at that, and a guy that I think will carve out a couple nice years in the NFL. With that being said, I lastly have the position that we least need, and I almost didn't even mention it, but I figured I would. Why not? That's quarterback. Of course, a year ago, we were talking a lot about the quarterback position, and if you guys remember, I was freaking out about Drake May. Like, I had an anxiety attack when we drafted him. I was freaking out because Drake May was like the scariest prospect to me. Terribly low floor and an extremely high ceiling. Obviously, it's heading in the right direction now, so QB we don't need to worry about, but we did trade away Joe Milton, of course, and signed Josh Dobbs to be our backup. But if Elliott Wolf is like his father, Ron, who was in Green Bay for all those years, he has a history of drafting quarterbacks just about every year. So if Elliott Wolf continues that tradition, these are a couple of guys I think he could target at the tail end of the draft. First being Brady Cook out of Missouri. The first thing that you can say about Brady Cook is he is a true leader. He was a two-time team captain and has a really good rapport around college. On top of that, he's got a really good IQ for the game. I think he processes well and goes through his reads at a good rate, not a great rate. But he also knows when it's time to sling a ball and when it's time to lob a ball into a hole for a receiver. So just got a good feel for the game. He is dual threat to me with those passing abilities, but he also ran a 4.59 40 time. And he has the mobility to make plays happen with his feet. So whether it's downfield or extending plays, I really like how he uses his mobility and athleticism to his advantage. And then, like I said, he can make some good throws from the pocket just because of his understanding of the game. But he is 6'2", not the most ideal build for a quarterback, obviously. And he has a strong arm. It's not the strongest. It's a decently strong arm. So, he's older. He's like 24, going to be 24, I believe, heading into the season. So what you see is what you get. Who knows if he's going to come in with that mentality that he believes he can be a starter, or if he'll settle into that backup role and run with it. But I think he'll be better than what we got from Jacoby Brissett just because of his versatility. And honestly, maybe teams like that because a lot of offenses revolve around a dual threat quarterback nowadays. So I don't know, maybe someone takes him in the 5th round, but I really think he's going to fall into the 6th, maybe 7th round. So a guy we could target later in the draft. Secondly and lastly, another quarterback I would say could be a target for us is Minnesota and former University of New Hampshire quarterback Max Brosmer. He spent 5 seasons at UNH. He did miss 2021 with an ACL tear, but recovered well, played well, and then transferred to Minnesota last season and showed that he could play in a Power 4 conference. Where he differs from Brady Cook is Brosmer is more of a pocket passer, field general type. And of course, the NFL has moved away for the most part from this play style. You still have your quarterbacks that are able to do this, but a lot more systems are relying on mobile quarterbacks that can scramble and get yards with their legs. So Brosmer lacks in that category. And he's also 6'2", so as a pocket passer, he's not going to have the best time seeing over the offensive line. But he does make up for it with very good fundamentals. Mechanics are really good, and he knows how to anticipate throws. So, again, a guy that he's not going to make a lot of poor decisions, but once the pocket starts to collapse, it gets really sketchy because he doesn't move that well. And it just really limits his ceiling at that point. His arm is decent, like he's got some zip to it, but it's not, again, not a super strong arm, but he knows how to layer the ball, similarly to Cook. So his passing ability is there, but he's not going to make a lot of plays happen outside of the pocket. It's kind of like he'll go through his reads very well. There's multiple plays I saw where he makes a throw to his third or even fourth option on a pass, but he needs to live within the pocket quickly and make stuff happen. And with his size being smaller, I don't know how his throwing across the middle will be. I think he'll make more or find more success with throws to the boundaries or anticipating receivers running towards the middle of the field and kind of just throw it in there because he can read a defense. He knows where openings will be, but a little sketchy. At the end of the day, he's got a good floor as a backup with a low ceiling. I think this is a guy that's going to know his role, but really a good pocket passer with not a lot of ceiling or high ceiling for room to grow. With that, rounds out not only the quarterbacks, not only this episode, but all of the prospects I have gone over, guys. If you want to see other prospects on that I've talked about, they're in my YouTube channel. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to see where the Patriots fall with the draft, if they'll make some trades, if they stay put and make some solid picks. But bottom line is we need to draft well to succeed. Can't spend all the money like we did this year. It's not long-term success, how it's built. But I am interested. This is big for us. And I'm very optimistic heading into the draft. There's a lot of good talent this year, deeper in the draft. So make sure you pay attention. I will have a recap of who we draft, and I will get that to you guys after the draft ends, of course. And you guys can check out a mock draft that I wrote up on my Substack and Medium, written out. It'll be interesting. I'm going to have a lot of fun watching. It's been fun, y'all. Until next time, peace.